point again is that what this is Taskeen Sihr. What you are seeing here is called Taskeen Sihr. Taskeen Sihr, which means that what this is not a geomantic chart. This one is not some. Is these figures you are seeing here are not. If it was to be geomantic chart, this one supposed to be 2 2 1 1. That is what is supposed to be here. You understand that? But that is not what it is. So which means that this one is not a geomantic table. It's just a tasking table. This is a tasking table. Tasking table. And what do we mean by tasking? Tasking is just like an order to which something follow, how something is arranged. That's what we mean by what tasking. How something is arranged. That is the simplest definition of what tasking. Just like when you say that when you're saying that what is the order of what is the tasking of what is the Western tasking. Then if you say what is Western tasking, then you can say that the Western tasking is what A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. But if it is what is Yoruba tasking, I can say that Ha, B, D, that is after B is D. But according to Western tasking, after B is C. But according to Yoruba tasking, after B is D. You understand? So likewise, some other, if you go to French or some other thing, you see that some arrangement are changed. So that's what that's what the meaning of tasking, the order to which something is arranged. So this one is tasking, just like we have tasking, Western tasking, like our English alphabet, we have Yoruba tasking, blah 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 like that. So in geomancy, this is Taskeen Sihr. Again, I didn't mean that ABC and like is tasking. I just use that one to compare so that you can easily understand what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying ABC or all those ones are tasking. I just used to explain because these figures are geomancy language. That's why in English we have ABC is ABC to Z is an English language. Do you understand? And if you want to understand a language of the people, you have to first of all if you want to understand people's culture, you have to first of all understand their language. And to understand a language, you have to know how to spell it. In order to know how to spell a language, you have to know the arrangement of their letters. That is in practical sense. But in spirituality or in geomancy too, in order to understand geomancy, you need to understand the figures. In order to understand geomancy deeper, you have to understand what the tasking as well, according to the tradition you are trying to understand. Because we have tasking Abdau, we have the tasking Ikoga, we have the tasking Tomtom, and so on and so forth. So that tasking we have tasking Ikoga, that tasking Tomtom, I've not actually seen that somewhere special, but I think I've seen that from one of the people I usually call Sheikh whenever I see their post going around on social media. So there's one of the Sheikh that I heard that from him. I heard that particular Tom tasking. I heard that from him, but practically, I'm not sure I've practically studied that particular one, but I've heard it from him. In fact, if you hear me saying Tom tasking, I'm talking about the one I heard from that Sheikh. He's a Sheikh to me because anytime I comes across his post or his work, I usually feel wow that this person is also, you understand, but that's why I regard him as one of the sheikhs as well. So one of the sheikhs of geomancy. But that is not where we are going. I just want to buttress that point that that is where I come across. But that is just to buttress that in geomancy we have different traditions. We have different lineage. Lineage, when you say that lineage, you're talking about tasking, lineage, how something is aligned. Do you understand? So now let's move further. That this particular one before me is called Taskeen Sihr. Taskeen Sihr. That is SIHR. Taskeen Sihr. So now, what is this tasking for, or what is the usefulness of this tasking, or how is it used? Because you don't just use this tasking without because tasking, basically all taskings, we have taskings for primary, they have their own primary purpose, they have their usage. Scholars don't just come up and bring out a tasking without a specific purpose. Let me even say again, from that same sheikh that I heard about that Tom Taskeen. He was, in fact, he himself, he once told me, not even told me, sorry, I once heard from one of his lecture. He said, well, Taskeen Abdul is specifically meant for competition. When there is a competition, that is when Taskeen Abdul is more useful or more applicable or much more better to use. That was one of the things I said. Just to buttress this point that mostly tasking are not just tasking. They are the scholar brought them out for a purpose. So I hope that is clear. So let's move further so that you understand more better. So this tasking as well, it's called Taskeen Sihr, like I said earlier. It's called Taskeen Sihr. So what is this Taskeen Sihr for? That is basically what I want to explain in this video. What is this Taskeen still are meant for is what I want to explain in this video. Secondly, if time permit, I might also explain practically how it can be used. Because in fact, that was practically how it can be used is what I intend to explain before I posted that image on the wall on my page. I have posted the image on my Facebook page. I've posted that image of this thing there because I was thinking that what I will explain is how to practically use that tasking. But now I feel like I should explain it here because some people might not be watching, they might not see that image. Do you understand? But so I want to explain the usefulness. Or sorry, what this tasking is for. I will explain it maybe in the subsequent video or in this same video. If time permit, I'll now explain the practical usage of it. But so let's start so that this video will not be too long without achieving a purpose. Now, what is this tasking for? This tasking here is usually used or is usually useful when an issue has become complicated. When an issue has become complicated or when a problem has become complicated. Mark my word or understand my words or understand the usage of my word, the usage of my word. I said when a problem has become complicated, that is when this tasking is useful. It is not when you have a problem that you use this tasking. It is when a problem has become complicated or when an issue has become complicated or when an illness, sickness has become complicated. That is when this tasking is useful. What do I mean by when a problem becomes complicated or when the issue becomes complicated? Let me give an example. Let's say somebody is seeking for, maybe somebody is trying to conceive. Maybe somebody is seeking for how to get pregnant. I just want to use an example. Maybe the person has married for a very long period of time. He has done this. They have told him to go and use medication. He has gone to different checkup. He has gone to different hospital. Yet the hospitals, the medical checkups always say that everything is fine. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine everywhere. Yet not and the duration is getting, maybe the person is even getting older. Nothing same change. So it means that the issue has become complicated. That is when not when maybe somebody is like, I want to, maybe somebody want to conceive, maybe somebody is looking for how to get pregnant, how to get child, and the person is not yet married, he's seeking for how to, guys, that one is absurd. Or somebody has married, but it doesn't give the husband chance, maybe he's having some attitude towards the person, yet the person want to become, that is not when this tasking is useful. It's when the person has done all the things that requires, that's a normal thing you are supposed to do. You have done all the medical something, you do all the everything that's supposed to be done. Yet it is not. That is when this tasking is useful. Not when you have not give a time, or maybe they ask you to come and do something somewhere. You have not done that thing from that person. You are not saying that maybe you know this one that I'm to teach you. You're only deceiving yourself. Because I said this one is useful only when the issue has become complicated. Or let's say somebody is sick. Maybe that person has gone to pharmacy, he has done what he needs to do, he has gone to all those herbal something, he has done all that one too, it's not giving result. He has done these different sort of things. Maybe they asked to come and do something, maybe from medical line, he has done that. They asked him to come and do herbal something, he has done that. In fact, he has almost committed sin in the process of looking for solution for that sickness. He has done so much, virtually everything, nothing is coming again. The person is about to give up. That is when these things can then be used. Otherwise, you are only deceiving yourself, because this tasking of Sihr is when the issue has become complicated. Do you understand? It is when the issues has become complicated. That is when you then break this out. That is when you then bring this tasking Sihr out. not when the issue is still at the maybe still at the jeko level. Do you know what I mean by jeko level? It's when the issue is still at preliminary or jeko is the right word, but you might not understand what the jeko is. It's when the issue is still very small, when the you cannot be bringing this one out. Do you understand? So that is when this word tasking is useful. You understand, ba? When the issue has become more complicated. So that is what this word tasking is useful for. I'm repeating that so that you don't just say maybe, or again, like maybe, let me give an example again. Let me portray this one. You know, some people, they will tell you that I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. Now, they have done those things that they say indeed, but they have not truly they have not done it truly. Let me give you an example. Maybe they asked to go and do something. You just go, "Oh, let me just do it, Jerry." You don't do it with the true mind. And that one is not coming to you. You want to go and bring this tasking out. You're only deceiving yourself. The person, but some which means that was sometimes if the querent, the person seeking answer comes to you and the person is not being truthful, which means that if you apply this thing, it might still not work. So it needs a level of what sincerity, balanced truth. In fact, instead of calling this one Taskeen Sihr, this Taskeen Sihr is supposed to be called balanced truth. The skin of balanced truth, because this will only work when the querent, the person comes to you, is being truthful, and when the geomancer is being truthful. The geomancer is not the one that when both of them, both the person seeking question and the person that want to answer the question, when both of them are being sincere. That's why I said me. I think this one should be better be called the skin of balance the truth. You understand? But but it is originally called Taskeen Sihr. Because me sometimes, in fact, sometimes me, I personally call this one, I personally call this tasking as well. I sometimes call it tasking to you, or I call it tasking to Yuri. Sometimes me, I call it that way. But the proper word for it, the proper something for it is Taskeen Sihr. Taskeen Sihr. I don't know how you want to pronounce this spelling. That's why I write the spelling out so that you can pronounce it in a way that I like you. It's Sihr. So, but me, I call it Taskeen Sihr. But you can pronounce it the way you like. But this is the name for it. Sihr. Taskeen Sihr. You can then call it pronounce it the way. So I hope you are understanding this particular one that I'm explaining now. So that is part of the. I may not explain these things too much, but I think I have explained it somewhere before. Sorry, not even somewhere before. Yes, I have explained it somewhere before where I use typing to explain it. So I'm decided to use this video to explain so that some people when you have not use a voice to explain something, not all of them could clearly understand. So that is why sometimes you have to combine the two so that those that don't understand that don't understand typing could understand voicing. Do you understand? So that is about Taskeen Sihr. And that's it. Now in this video, I may not be able to complete this video in this particular. I may use another video to complete this one so that this one will not be too long, because if the video is getting too long now, the data that I will use to upload it, it will consume my data, so I have to break it to a time that will be convenient for me, or to the time when the data is sufficient. So now, so I've explained what this the condition that needs to be met before you apply this tasking. I've explained that. Now, how do you, if you want to use, let's say the condition has been met, because this one, the way you cast chart for this particular one is different from the way you cast your normal chart. Let's say the condition I just explained has been met. Mind you, level of truth and sincerity is required for this to work out. Level of truth and sincerity must be met. Which means the querent, the person that want to answer the question must be able to interview the querent. What has he or she done? And what have they told he or she to do? Has he done everything? Everything must be here. That is when you can have. Otherwise, you just want to. Is either you want to waste the person's time, or you want to waste the person. Maybe if the person will pay you for it, is either you want to waste the person money or whatever, whichever. You just want to. That's why I'm repeating this so that so that there will be no confusion. You understand, ba? So that is that. Now, there's a way of casting this particular. If you want to use this tasking to cast a chart for that, let's say the person has met that requirement. Or let me say, okay, let's say the person has met that requirement. So the next thing is this. No, wait, oh, before I move on, the requirement is both physical and spiritual. Maybe the person has done physical something. Maybe by physical, I mean maybe he has used medical something to go through it. The thing doesn't go. Now as the person has used spiritual something. That is when this. Let me even make it more clear that way. Not that maybe the person is science. Somebody the person is science. Maybe the person has done different medication. And maybe somebody has told the person come and do spiritual and refuse to do it. That means you cannot use this tasking. The person must be the one that has done medical. He has gone through medical something and has gone both spiritual something, and that's when this term becomes useful. I'm re-emphasizing it again. Now the person that has done maybe spiritual something, maybe they ask the person to go and do medical something. The person now refuse to go. You don't want to use this testing. You're only deceiving yourself. Or maybe the person has done medical something, and they ask the person to go and do spiritual. He refuse to do it. Let the person go and find a solution elsewhere. Don't or with another method rather. With another, you can use whatever method you know. Continue, but you don't use this one. I'm repeating it so that you don't make mistake. It's when the person has gone. That's why I prefer to call this tasking of balance the truth. That's it. You have gone both way. Nothing seems working, and the person is feeling pain, and maybe the person is feeling a lot of pain. Now that is when you then bring out this one. Because this one, that is why you don't find this tasking this particular task. You don't find it anyhow. I mean, you don't find it anyhow book. You don't find it anyhow. You cannot easily find this tasking online because the person that want to bring this one online must be able to explain explicitly so that the person will not mislead anybody. There are many things about this thing that you cannot easily find, not because people don't want to tell you, because they believe that, well, the person that want to say it is the person capable enough to explain it in a way that will not mislead others. You understand? But that is one of the reasons why you cannot. It is not. There are a lot of things beyond this thing that if you are reading Geomancy online, or you are reading it on book. There are a lot of things that you might not easily find there. There are a lot of things you might not easily find there. Or sorry, that you might find there, but it takes some level of expertise. So you take some level of being an expert for you to see it. Because even in that one you see online, you can also find it in online, but it takes some level of being expert for you to see it as well. Just like when you are reading Bible, when you are reading Quran, the same thing that we read, if another person read that thing, you'll be seeing another thing inside that same book. And that's why I said that, well, you can also find it in many of the books you read online as well. But it takes some level of being in that realm, or being in spirit, or being for you to understand it more. You understand? So I hope you have understood that before I jump to the next segment of this particular video. Now, before I jump to this next segment of this particular video, I hope that one is already, you already understand that one. Now, let me now tell you how to cast a chart. Taskeen Sihr's chart. Now, how do you cast it? Now, when you are casting, you cast your chart the way you normally cast it, whichever method you know. But in this case, you cannot easily use computer to generate this one. What disclosure you can use to cast Taskeen Sihr is either you use sand, or you use paper. I will tell you why I say it's either, because there was a time before long time ago, many years back. I usually tell people that, well, when you want to cast geometry chart, you don't use pen and paper. Sorry, you don't use. Sorry, I think I said not. I'm not sure I said pen and paper. I said, but let me say the one I remember very well. I usually said that. Well, don't use computer. Don't use this thing to generate this. I usually emphasize that over and over and over and over. At some point, and I stopped saying that. I said that use anything you like. At some point, I stopped saying, I said, use anything you like. Or I think I didn't, in fact, at some point, I didn't say whether you should use anything you like or not. I just leave people to do whatever that suit them. Now, that thing I usually see that, and this is where it applies. That thing I usually see long time. In fact, what I'm saying is like about 3 or 4 or 5 years. Sorry, is it up to 5 years? Maybe 3 or 4 years. It should be up to 5. I used to say that thing back then that, well, you don't use this one, you don't use this one. And this is where it up. I will tell you why you can, for this particular, using Taskeen Sihr, I want to tell you why you cannot use computer to generate it. You have to use sand or use pen and paper. I will tell you that. Now, the reason is this. If you use computer to generate chart that is meant to answer Taskeen Sihr, computer will generate from house 1 to house 16 automatically for you. Or from house 1 to house 8, depending if you are using house chart or you are using shared chart to generate. So if you whichever one you use, is either it generates from house 1 to house 12 immediately for you, or it generates from house 1 to house 16 immediately for you. Whereas you want to cast this kind of chart, you don't do it with just a different pattern. Now let me give you the pattern to. Now when you want to cast your chart, after you have generated your 4 models, your 4 model figures, let's say you have generated your 4 model figure, the next thing you need to do is what you generate the remaining this one. No, from our first model, 4 model figure we occupies house 1, house 2, house 3, house 4. And why you then use 4 model to generate rest, isn't it? So once you have generated the four mother figure, you then generate the what? The fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth. So once you generate those one finish, now this is where the difference then comes in. This is where the difference comes in. So no, when you generate this one finish, the next thing you do, you want to generate house 9, isn't it? You want to generate house 10, isn't it? You want to generate house 11, isn't it? You want to generate house 12, isn't it? That is the way you generate the child, isn't it? But for tasking there, you will not follow it that way. Immediately you generate this 8 house finish, the first figure you will write down is house what? In house 12. That is the first figure you write. Even though it will amount the same thing, because some of you will say that, well, if I write it this way, it's not the same thing. That's why I said this one is just, you have to follow the procedure. If you don't follow, maybe you are playing too smart. That, oh, let me do this way. Maybe you want to solve a problem. If the problem is not solved, now you the person who abuse say you wasting time, Abby. The person will say you know because that's why I said this thing, some little thing or something that look absurd can bring out meaning when you don't. So now after you have generated these 8 figures, the next one you generate is what? House. You use house 7 and 8 to generate house 12. So the point is that you have written this one this way, this down part you have to write it this way. You have written this one this way, this one you have to write it this way. That is why some scholars believe that, the reason why, when you want to generate chart, when you want to use sound to generate a geometric table, geometric chart, you do something like, you do some marking, you do it like that, they said the meaning of that thing you are saying, the meaning of that thing you are doing is because you are you are indirectly telling God that, this thing is confusing, but don't let me, because that, if you are doing like this, you are doing, that thing we normally do when you want to cast chart, that you will do like this, you will use your hand to mark the time. They said the meaning of that is like you are saying that, the question the querent is asking about, you don't know it. That is what you are saying by doing that. You don't know it. Then by the time you are not writing your chart backward, you are not saying, oh, I have know it. That is what it means when you are writing it this way. When you are writing in this one, you are saying that you don't know it. That is the implication of that things you are doing. When you are doing, like when you are doing your hand to, that's why when you say you are using sound to write, or when you are using paper to write, it's more. But that doesn't mean. But this is where it is necessary. This is that thing that I just said. This on this particular task. That is where it is necessary. The rest is just for you. So let's now move on. So like I said, if you want to generate after you have casted your distance this way, house 1 to house 8. Normally if you are casting your normal chart, house 11, house 9 is what next that you will write, then you write the rest. Now, but if you are you want to answer this question with Taskeen Sihr, you not use house 9, you jump to house 12, you write down first, then you write out waiting again, house 11, 12 next, then you write out, you generate house 10 next, and you generate house 9 next. Then you generate 13, 14, 15, 16. Do you understand? That is the way of generating the chart. So once you have generated that chart, once you have generated that chart, one of the unique things about this tasking is that, in that one you don't check miss. You don't need to check miss. Now, so the next thing you will do, let me cut this video so that I will explain it in the subsequent video. This video is already getting too long. If it's long now, to upload it now, it will consume more data than expected, and it will also take time to upload. So let me continue. By that time, the next video, I will then bring out I will just bring out what's it called? A regiomatic chart rather than this task screen. But I want to believe that you have seen this task screen. You have seen how it looks like. And if you have not, if this thing is rough, go to that page, my Facebook page. You will see the picture I've pasted there called Taskeen Sihr. You will see it there, Taskeen Sihr, one of the images there. So this thing, you will see it more clear. If this one I wrote is not clear, you will see it I've written on that paper. But now I've used this one to explain what Taskeen Sihr is. Now the subsequent videos, I want to explain the application, how to apply it, how to use it. Do you understand? That is what I want to do in the subsequent video. So thank you very much. May God bless you. So subscribe to my YouTube video so that whenever I made a new video, you can always have the opportunity to to get notification that a post has been posted. Thank you. May your life never be useless. As you share, like, or comment on my videos. Thank you very much. May God bless you.